Yesterday was Ukraine's National Day. It's been 34 years since Kiev declared itself free from Moscow's shadows. Yet, the shadow feels longer now than it has in the last 3 decades. Independence in Ukraine right now is less about parades and more about survival. And yet, just 10 days ago, there was talk of peace. I'm talking about the Alaska summit. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin met in the Alaskan capital. There were handshakes, a few smiles, and whispers of progress. But if Alaska was meant to end this war, you wouldn't know it from the week that followed. Just look at last weekend. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky addressed the nation, and he remained as defiant as ever.
How many times have we said that we want silence, we want peace, but a dignified and comprehensive one? And that is why we are counting on the strength of the whole world. This is what Ukraine is like now. This is what Ukraine will never again in history be forced to feel shame.
We haven't won the war, but we haven't lost it yet. Those were his words. And it shows that Ukraine is not ready to give up on the fight just yet. And Zelensky added something else here. He said Ukraine wants peace, but it also wants a future that can be decided by Ukrainians. In other words, the Ukrainian leader has said that he won't be a pawn in someone else's peace talks. But here's the problem. Even if there are peace talks, Russia is not willing to have them with Zelensky. Because according to Moscow, Zelensky is illegitimate. That's the word they used. They do not recognize him as the president of Ukraine.
We would need a very clear understanding by everybody that the person who is signing is legitimate. And according to the Ukrainian constitution, Mr. Zelensky is not at the moment.
Russia's foreign minister Sergei Lavrov spoke about it. He said, Vladimir Putin cannot sit down in talks with Zelensky because who will sign the deal from the Ukrainian side? And this throws another spanner in the peace talks. Clearly, the flurry of diplomatic activity is not working. And while the politicians traded words, the militaries kept trading blows. First, Russia launched a barrage of aerial attacks on Kiev. On its Independence Day, Ukraine reportedly hit back. Moscow accused Kiev of launching waves of drones into western Russia. The most dramatic claim was this one, a strike on the Kursk nuclear power plant. Just 60 kilometers from the border, one drone apparently hit an auxiliary transformer. It forced a reactor to cut its output in half. Thankfully, this did not cause any significant damage. The United Nations nuclear watchdog has said that the radiation levels were normal, but Moscow has raised an alarm. It has accused Ukraine of attacking nuclear facilities. And Kiev, for its part, has not commented or denied any of this. Meanwhile, in Washington, Vice President J.D. Vance was sounding oddly upbeat. On national television, he insisted that Russia, and I'm quoting, Russia has made significant concessions.
I think the Russians have made significant concessions to President Trump for the first time in 3.5 years of this conflict. They've actually been willing to be flexible on some of their core demands.
So what were those concessions? Apparently, it was talk of security guarantees for Ukraine. Now, here's the thing to note. The word concessions is doing a lot of work here. To Moscow, agreeing to discuss guarantees costs nothing. They can be defined so vaguely as to mean almost anything. But to Kiev, security guarantees without NATO membership sound like a mirage. And to Washington, the language buys time, enough to suggest progress without having to prove it. And while Washington tried to play up the peace talks, there came a surprise twist, a Canadian wild card. I'm talking about Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. He landed in Kiev with a radical plan, the possibility of Canadian troops on Ukrainian soil. Now, to be fair, Carney was quite careful about this. He did not say combat troops. He did not say when or how many or for what exact purpose. He wrapped it in phrases like modalities, reinforcements. But the word was very much there, troops.
We are working through with our allies in Coalition of the Willing and with Ukraine the modalities of those security guarantees on land, in the air, and the sea, and I would not exclude the presence of troops.
For Ukraine, the statement was a lifeline of possibility. For Russia, it was a red flag. For NATO, it was a headache. Nobody wants the war to expand, but neither do they want to appear timid. Carney may have been vague, but he cracked open a door that others tried to keep shut. So 10 days after the Alaska summit, here we are. Zelensky is as defiant as ever. Russia says it wants peace talks, but refuses to recognize Zelensky. Washington is talking about concessions. Canada is talking about boots on the ground, and the fighting continues on the battlefield. So you may ask, what is different since Alaska? Well, the answer is very little, but also a lot, both at once. This is the Ukraine war's reality now. Diplomacy that goes nowhere and battles that change little.
Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
Stands at $36 trillion.
French,
Le FMI, comme
German,
Geschäftsführenden Direktor
Hindi,
$30 trillion kakarjo.
Indonesian,
Pemerintah tanpa pemeriksaan.
Italian,
Sekali radikali.
Japanese,
4兆ドル以上も
Portuguese,
por causa do próprio balanço patrimonial.
Spanish.
Beautiful bill.
Go to Settings, click on Audio Track and select a language of your choice. Be the first to know what's happening around you in your first language. Firstpost.